here is Marylouise Serrato, Executive Director of ACA, to give a quick update on the fundraising efforts for the ACA Global Foundations Research Project with District Economics Group.
Hi, Michelle. Thanks for inviting me today. Just want to give everyone a quick update on ACA Global Foundation, ACAGF, and our work on raising funds for our second round of research and data on the overseas Americans community that we're doing with District Economics Group, DEG, here in Washington, D.C. Some of your listeners may remember that back in 2017, we raised funds and did a research project with District Economics Group, a first round, to take a look at the size of the overseas American community, take a look at their tax and compliance, their investment habits, their income makeup, size, and demographics. This is a lot of data that just doesn't exist, frankly, anywhere in government offices. There are bits and pieces of it with the Treasury and the IRS, but there's no real comprehensive data source for this kind of information. As we all know, even the State Department has an estimate of 9 million Americans living and working overseas, and ACA has been working hard to try to determine what the methodology is for that number, but so far we don't really know. Our independent work done with District Economics Group back in 2017 gives us an estimate about 5 to 6 million. That work has been very beneficial. We've gone into numerous offices, the Joint Committee of Taxation, both tax writing committees, congressional offices, and we've presented that work that's given them a lot of data that they don't have. And coming off of that, there's more data and information that they're looking for. So we're going back in and we're doing a second round. There's obviously been a lot of new information given the FATCA legislation, some of the compliance programs that have been out there that were bringing a lot of people who were unaware that they had to file taxes or that they had to file FBARs, the foreign bank account report. There's been a lot of compliance mechanisms out there, so there's a whole new pot of information, so to speak. We want to go out there and get that data and add to our research project because we know the offices that we're speaking to really want and need this, and that it's going to be critical for any move towards residence-based taxation.
Why is this project so important to ACA's work for tax reform?
It's important because without good data, it's very difficult to write good legislation. We've seen this in a lot of the hearings that we've attended, most recently the Senate Finance Committee hearings that were held on the tax gap and on international tax compliance. We've heard from people within the government and in key offices like the Treasury and the IRS who have said that they really don't have a lot of reliable, good data on the tax and compliance of Americans overseas. So a lot of the discussion on the tax gap and on legislation that's being developed to combat tax evasion, which I think everyone, including ACA and ACAGF, were very much supportive of efforts against criminal tax evasion. What we don't want to see happen is that compliant, average, everyday Americans who are living overseas get caught up in a lot of that legislation, which has huge negative effects. I don't need to tell many of the listeners on the podcast today because they're very familiar with the negative effects of that. We want to show the offices that are working on tax reform that this is an average community, middle class. Most people are compliant or want to be compliant, and have them understand how Americans overseas are earning their income, how they're taxed in the jurisdictions in which they live, how they're invested, the problems some of those investments create for them because they are U.S. citizens, so that all that data can go in front of the tax writing committees at hearings, which is going to be absolutely the critical next step in the lead up to drafting and writing legislation. We want those offices to have that data so that they can understand it and they can draft good sense legislation. And what we're hoping, draft residence-based taxation legislation, which is what we've been advocating for and working hard for, and for which this data and research is absolutely key.
Where does ACAGF stand today on the fundraising?
We are really excited. We began the fundraising campaign about a month ago, and within a month, we've raised about 2/3 of the funds. So we have a deadline of July 1 for the remainder. We're so confident that we've begun the work with District Economics Group because we are really anxious to get the project going. It will take some time to do the research and pull together the deck and all the information. So we really want to be prepared for that. We anticipate that hearings will probably be held in earnest starting in the fall of this year. So ACA really wants to be there with our data. We want to be able to present it to offices. We want to be able to have the community at the table, not only ACA, but other stakeholders, and have this data available to the committees and the offices that are working on tax reform and specifically on residence-based taxation.
How can people help get ACAGF to the finish line?
You can help, number one, by donating. I urge everybody who's listening to the podcast to go to the ACA website. If you haven't donated, please go and donate today. And remember, it doesn't have to be a big dollar amount. Every dollar helps on this campaign. Small donations, whatever you can afford, 15, 20, 50 and upwards, please consider donating. Let your friends and other interested parties know about ACA's campaign. We are out there on our own website, on GoFundMe, and on other donation websites. So go out, find ACA Global Foundation, or just simply go to the ACA website or the ACA Global Foundation website. Press on donate and you'll find all the information about how to donate. Please help us get the word out, post it on your social media networks. And again, let everybody you know about this very important campaign that's really going to help the overseas Americans community.
Thank you, Marylouise, for the update on the campaign. Visit the ACA and ACAGF site for more information and to donate. Links are in our show notes to make it easy.